Hey folks, SC Closer here. Friends call me Vic. Got another episode of Vic's Sea Stories and Tall Tales. It seems like the last couple stories here I've been talking about not 87 deployment. So I guess I'll continue on in that vein, and I tell you a story about Singapore. We stopped in Singapore and we anchored out. It seemed like they had to run boats in to Singapore, and this place was huge. The port was, there were ships just anchored all over the place. And we went into Singapore, and the first thing I can really tell you about Singapore is this was the most modern, first world looking place that we had been in Southeast Asia. At the point that we were there, we hadn't been to Australia yet, but a lot of these places we went, uh, they were more, Korea was pretty modern. But this place looked like real modern. And when you went around, they had all the U.S. franchises. They had Pizza Hut. They had Hardee's. They didn't even have Hardee's in California. They only had those on the East Coast, but they had Hardee's in Singapore. We went and saw the new James Bond movie that had come out at the time in '86 in the movie theater in English in Singapore. I mean, and when you went to Pizza Hut in Singapore, it tasted like pizza from Pizza Hut. We went to a Pizza Hut in Thailand. I don't know what they put on that pizza. I didn't recognize nothing. The cheese was some odd stuff, and all these weird looking vegetables and everything. I don't know. Lord knows what the meat was, But they had the franchise name. They don't have trademark laws there like they do in other places, but in Singapore they do. And so if you went into a franchise in Singapore, it's going to be just like it was in the States. At least it was in the ones we went to. So anyway. And it was interesting in Singapore. They had all these banners and stuff up everywhere with like national pride, keep Singapore clean, all this kind of stuff, which almost gave it a communist flair to me at the time because of the slogans and stuff everywhere. But that's beside the point. And for those of you that don't know, years ago there was a famous incident where I think some young fella stole something in not the Philippines, in Singapore, and they caned him. That was a punishment. They were real strict about stuff like that. But the place was real clean. It was real safe because they were very strict about things. And we were told to be very careful in Singapore and don't act up in Singapore like we did in other places because they didn't play in Singapore. So we were on a little bit better behavior in Singapore. And I bought a Panasonic. No, I didn't buy a Panasonic. A friend of mine I had a Panasonic little boom box, and he bought one that looked exactly like that in Singapore, but it had the same model number on it as mine. It looked exactly like mine, but it didn't say Panasonic on it. It said National, the national brand of Singapore. Evidently, they had a contract to make these things for Panasonic, and they ran a few thousand extras off, and they put National on them, and they sold them as their own brand. Whether or not they were supposed to do that or not, I don't know, but that's what we figured they had done. But let me tell you the interesting thing about Singapore. While we were there, I had made third class. I had made third class petty officer, and I had my crows and all tacked on and everything when I was in the Philippines. When we got to Singapore and everything, I found a tailor shop in town. And so I took my dress blues and a couple other uniforms I had, and I had my little crows. We call them crows or eagles, and my chevrons and all. And I took them to get them put on because I knew we were going to be going to Australia, and it was going to be wintertime down there, and I was going to have to wear my dress blues and stuff down there. The first day in town, I had to wear dress blues, and so I had to get those ready. So I take it in there, and the guy was like, you come pick it up. He said you could come pick it up tomorrow, and we were off, so we were going to be able to do that. And it was a reasonable price, and I told him how I wanted it because the crows come, and I should have I probably got some laying around here somewhere. You got the little eagle and you got the 3 chevrons. Okay, now that's the way they come when you buy them. If you're a first class, you have all 3 chevrons. If you're second class, you only have 2, and you just cut the bottom one off and then you fold it over and sew it on. If you're third class, like I was at the time, you cut the bottom 2 off and then you kind of fold it over, and sew it on nice and neat, and you just have the 1 chevron. So I needed the crow with the 1 chevron and had the little globe in the middle because I was an electrician. So I told the guy exactly how I wanted it on there, and I told him, and in the way you cut them, you didn't cut them exactly. You kind of cut it straight across and folded it under. There's a certain way that they do it. It's regulation. And I told him how to do that. I showed him. He said, yeah, we can do it. We can do it. So I dropped it off, and I think my buddy, he was having his done too, and he dropped his off. So we got a little ticket, and everything. We made note of where this place was so we could find it again, and we went on about our business. We go back the next day. Okay, this is hilarious. Go back the next day, the guy brings the stuff out, and he's all proud, He says, yeah, I've done it. They look good, And he pulls it out, and then he shows it to me, and he had all 3 chevrons on there, first class. And no. I said, I only have 1. I'm a third class. I can't have 1. You got to cut those other 2 off. He goes, and he looks at me, he goes, what? And he says, I said, no, I need just 1. Take the other 2 off. And he looks at me, he goes, but it looks better this way. I'm like, yeah, it looks better that way, but I can't wear that. I'll get in trouble. And he did the same thing to my buddies. So he felt real bad about it and everything. I said, look, we got to have it the way, with the right ring. So he was like, oh, okay, come back 1 hour. So we go around the corner, find some spot, drink some beer. Came back. He had it fixed. Everything was fine. It went on back. But he was like, he thought it looked better. He thought he was doing us a favor.